Idaho may sound like nothing more than a quiet state of potatoes, farms, and cold mountains. But the deeper you look, the more this place feels like a map that nature bent in a way that is almost hard to believe. This is a state with a waterfall taller than Niagara, yet in some seasons it looks as if someone flipped the switch off. It has a canyon deeper than the Grand Canyon. It has a city with no ocean access that is still called a seaport. It has a place where astronauts once came to practice reading the surface of the moon. And there is even a famous comparison saying that if all of Idaho's mountains were flattened out, the state would be as large as Texas. In this video, we will go through the 35 craziest facts about Idaho, from strange and funny details to landscapes that may make you see this state in a completely different way. Fact 35. Idaho's time zone split. You can lose an entire hour just by driving across a bridge. In Idaho, the division of time creates a clear physical boundary. The northern part of the state, the Panhandle region, uses Pacific time to stay economically aligned with neighboring Washington. Meanwhile, most of southern Idaho operates on mountain time. In the town of Riggins, the Salmon River serves as the natural boundary separating these two time zones. The time zone bridge on Highway 95, which crosses the river, has become the official point where time changes. As your car rolls across this bridge, the clock on your phone automatically jumps by 1 hour. This time, difference forces residents in the surrounding area to constantly recalculate school schedules, work shifts, and delivery times every day, simply because they live on one side of the river but work on the other. Fact 34. The tallest single sand dune in North America. A state of snowy mountains and pine forests also contains a geographic structure usually associated with the desert. In southern Idaho, Bruneau Dune State Park hides a massive sand dune. This sand formation rises 470 feet above the ground. It is recorded as the tallest single-structure sand dune in North America. Normally, sand dunes constantly move with the force of the wind, but the Bruneau Dune is trapped inside a natural basin. Two opposing wind currents blowing continuously through the area have forced this enormous mass of sand to remain in the same place for thousands of years. The combination of sandy terrain and a temperate climate creates a unique ecosystem. Around the base of the dune are small lakes. This forms a mixed habitat for both desert creatures and species that live in wetland environments. Fact 33. The center of the universe. Manhole. You can stand right at the center of the universe simply by stepping on a manhole cover in Idaho. The town of Wallace officially legalized this in 2004. Local authorities cast a special manhole cover, placed it in the street, and declared it the center of space. The strange part is that the entire claim is built on a lack of data. Science cannot point to the exact coordinates where the universe begins. Taking advantage of that, Wallace claimed the position for itself with one simple argument. No one has proven otherwise. No research organization has been able to provide another set of coordinates to disprove the town. As a result, what sounds like an absurd argument has turned into commercial value. The manhole cover transformed the mining town into a one-of-a-kind symbol. Wallace's unverifiable claim continues to help the town maintain a steady stream of tourism revenue to this day. Fact 32. A scar across the Idaho Valley. An earthquake left a 21-mile-long tear on the surface of Idaho, a wound that can never permanently heal. This scar appeared along the Lost River Fault after the Bora Peak seismic event. The force dragged the ground apart, ripping the valley into two halves. The most astonishing detail is the level of displacement in the planet's crust. The landmass on one side of the fault was lifted 9 feet higher than the opposite side. Usually, tectonic faults are invisible structures hidden underground. In Idaho, one became a fold in the terrain stretching across the landscape. This physical shift cut through natural surfaces and deformed the valley. More than 40 years later, the 21-mile scar still retains its original fault structure. It is one of the clearest physical proofs that the Earth's surface can be torn apart in only a few seconds. Fact 31. The Public Gem Mine of Idaho. You can walk into a national forest in Idaho and legally leave with rare gemstones in your hands. The Emerald Creek area offers a public star garnet mining site. This is one of only 2 rare places in the world where this mineral can be found. What is surprising is that the U.S. Forest Service does not fence off the area. Instead, it has turned it into a paid mining system. Visitors buy a permit, receive tools, and sift through soil and rock by hand to search for the stones. Any gemstones found within the allowed weight limit belong personally to the person who digs them up. This policy completely changes the way natural resources are managed. Instead of locking gemstones away inside closed preserves or museums, Idaho allows ordinary people to directly extract and own part of the country's mineral wealth. Fact 30. The 177-degree water. Flowing under Boise, residents of Idaho's capital city, Boise, are being warmed by a network of underground water heated to 177 degrees. This geothermal heating system operates completely out of sight beneath the city sidewalks. There is no power plant and no gas furnace. Naturally, hot water is drawn from underground sources and distributed directly through a web of pipelines. The strange part lies in the scale of the project. This 177-degree water can provide stable heat for more than 6 million square feet of built space. Government offices, banks, and residential areas are all connected to the same underground heat network. By channeling the Earth's heat directly into the city center, Boise has sharply reduced its dependence on fossil fuels. The system turns Idaho's underground bedrock into a giant heater running continuously day and night. Fact 29. The last salmon of Redfish Lake. In 1992, the entire salmon population in a lake in Idaho dropped to just one single fish. Redfish Lake had once been a massive spawning ground for sockeye salmon. Every year, so many fish returned that the surface of the water would turn red. The unexpected collapse happened when hydroelectric dams and environmental changes cut off the migration route. During the 1992 spawning season, only one male salmon completed the 900-mile journey from the ocean back to the lake. Biologists named him Lonesome Larry. The solitude of this single fish pushed Idaho's sockeye salmon to the edge of functional extinction. Conservation agencies had to intervene immediately. They extracted Larry's sperm for artificial fertilization. One lone salmon forced the state to activate an entire biological conservation network to rebuild the genetic line of a whole population. Fact 28. Idaho's Gravity-Defying rock. A massive rock is standing precariously on a base so small it almost looks illogical in the Idaho desert. This 40-ton rock rises 48 feet above the ground. The structure is known as balanced rock. Unlike mountains formed by tectonic uplift, this rock is the product of reverse erosion. Millions of years ago, this area was one solid mass of rock. Wind-carrying sand continuously eroded the base, which was made of softer mineral material. The top portion, made of harder stone, was barely worn down. This process created a 40-ton mass balanced on an extremely narrow point of contact. Visually, the rock looks like an illusion. Even though the base appears too small to support it, this 48-foot structure has not shifted for thousands of years. Fact 27. A state named after a lie. Millions of Americans are calling a state by a name born from a fabricated pronunciation. Idaho was long explained by the education system as a noun derived from a Native American language. Discoveries by state historians later exposed this origin story. No indigenous language system forms the syllables of the word Idaho. It came from the imagination of one individual in the 19th century. A lobbyist invented the word to create an ancient-sounding cover story and attract the attention of Congress. This lie succeeded in creating a layer of historical meaning that never actually existed. Even after the fabricated origin was exposed, the term was kept as the official name. As a result, an entire vast region now carries a name that contains no real linguistic meaning. Fact 26. The Sleeping Lava Field of Idaho. There is an area in Idaho with a desolate surface that looks like the moon, but beneath it lies a massive heat-generating network. This place is called Craters of the Moon. Thousands of acres of land are buried under sharp volcanic rock and systems of basalt caves. The strangest part is not the barrenness on the surface. The real threat lies in its underground activity. Unlike extinct volcanoes, the tectonic system beneath Craters of the Moon still maintains extremely high heat. The pressure release cycle of this area occurs roughly once every few thousand years. The last eruption took place more than 2,000 years ago. The possibility of this underground system becoming active again is always present. A land that appears dead on the surface is quietly waiting to reshape Idaho's entire landscape at any time. Fact 25. The train through the hotel lobby. The narrowness of a canyon forced a hotel in Idaho to turn its ground floor into a railroad tunnel. The town of Burke was built on terrain completely restricted by two cliff walls. The largest building there was the Tiger Hotel, standing several stories tall. The need to transport mining ore required the installation of a dedicated rail line. With zero open space available, planners made an unusual architectural decision. The railroad was designed to cut straight through the ground floor structure of the hotel. The building continued operating while freight trains ran constantly through the main lobby. The shaking and mechanical noise of the steel machines became part of the building itself. This spatial decision turned the town of Burke into an example of the compromise between everyday life and heavy mining infrastructure. Fact 24. North America's smallest rabbit. A mammal species in Idaho would go extinct almost immediately if one type of shrub disappeared. The semi-desert region of the state is the native habitat of the pygmy rabbit. Weighing less than 1 pound, it is the smallest rabbit species in North America. Its extremely small body makes it one of the easiest prey animals in the ground-level food chain. It survives by staying closely tied to mature sagebrush stands. This rabbit cannot digest ordinary grasses. Sagebrush leaves make up as much as 99% of its diet during the cold winter months. The root system and leafy canopy of this shrub provide a physical shield against birds of prey. The life of the pygmy rabbit is completely bound to the survival of one single plant community in the middle of the semi-desert. Fact 23. The underground magma pipeline. You can walk through the hollow interior of a basalt lava flow in the state of Idaho. This geological structure is called Indian Tunnel, located within Craters of the Moon. It is a massive lava tube stretching about 800 feet underground. It was formed when the surface of a magma flow came into contact with the air and hardened. The molten core inside continued to drain away, leaving behind an empty space. You are not entering a limestone cave carved out by water. You are walking straight into the bloodstream of an ancient volcanic eruption. The hardened lava marks on the ceiling still preserve the natural shape of the original flow. This experience turns invisible volcanic traces beneath the ground into a measurable physical tunnel. It exposes the planet's magma distribution mechanism. Fact 22. The only state seal designed by a woman. The highest symbol of authority in Idaho is the only official state seal in the United States designed by a woman. This historical milestone belongs to Emma Edwards Green. The event established a unique record within the system of 50 states. The Great Seal is the legal instrument used to authenticate every important document of the government. Before Idaho, no state government had entrusted the design of this representative face to a woman. Emma created a detailed drawing that captured the core economic and geographic features of the region. The symbol was immediately approved and officially adopted. Idaho's decision marked an unprecedented legislative precedent. Every time the state government issues a new law or signs a budget, it also places the legal imprint of a woman onto that document. Fact 21. The Blue Pools of Box Canyon. In Idaho, there is a stream of water as blue as an artificial swimming pool bursting directly out of dry canyon walls. This geographic structure is called Box Canyon. From the surface, the area looks like a canyon nearly drained of water. The surprise lies at the bottom of the valley. The water does not flow here from melting ice or nearby rivers. It is forced upward from a massive underground aquifer beneath the surface. Pressure pushes tens of thousands of gallons of water through basalt rock every minute. Dissolved underground minerals create a rare, brilliant blue color. This phenomenon exposes a hidden hydrological network deep beneath the Earth's crust. Box Canyon proves that much of Idaho's water does not move across the surface. It flows silently beneath people's feet before tearing through the canyon walls and revealing itself. Fact 20. The rise and fall of Idaho City. A town in Idaho once lost almost its entire population in a short period of time. That was the contraction of Idaho City. The gold rush once triggered a massive wave of migration. The population inside the town quickly exploded to 7,000 people. The surrounding area also recorded as many as 25,000 residents arriving to mine. This density turned Idaho City into the largest city in the Pacific Northwest at the time. The surprising part is that this growth had no stable foundation. The local economy depended 100% on mineral veins. When the gold supply ran dry, the supply chain collapsed immediately. Tens of thousands of miners dismantled their camps and left just as quickly as they had arrived. A once bustling city was forced to shrink into a small town. Idaho City is physical proof that mineral resources can inflate a city, but they cannot guarantee its survival. Fact 19. Trees that outlasted civilizations. There is a forest in Idaho where living organisms have stood still in one place since before many nations were even born. That is the Roosevelt Grove of ancient cedars. This area preserves a system of ancient cedar trees. Their ages range from 800 to more than 2,000 years old. The physical size of these trees is direct proof of time. A mature cedar can rise 150 feet high with a base as wide as 12 feet. The surprising part lies in their long-lasting ability to survive. These massive trunks have endured countless cycles of natural wildfire and drought. Their cores function like a meteorological data archive storing thousands of years of history. This grove creates an ecological space of absolute stillness. It maintains a primitive biological structure, completely separated from the rapid pace of change in the civilizations outside. Fact 18. Idaho's endless waterways. If you connected all of Idaho's waterways together, this strip of water would be long enough to wrap around the entire United States. This state does not only have rocky mountains, it contains a massive hydrological network dedicated to fishing. Statistics show that Idaho has more than 26,000 miles of rivers and streams. This number does not even include the thousands of natural lakes across the state. The surprise lies in the density of distribution. Water winds through deep canyons, flows across valleys, and cuts through forests. This enormous volume of water creates an interconnected aquatic ecosystem. It turns a landlocked state deep inside the continent into a huge freshwater fishing center. These 26,000 miles ensure a continuous water supply for many different fish species. This hydrological structure redefines the image of Idaho. It shows that the true value of the state lies in its hidden veins of water. Fact 17. The toxic legacy of Bunker Hill. More than 1,500 square miles of land in Idaho have been marked by the federal government as an area of high-level heavy metal contamination. The scale of the Bunker Hill Superfund area is larger than the combined size of many busy urban centers. The environmental destruction came from decades of poorly controlled ore mining. Streams and topsoil were saturated with industrial byproducts. The most frightening part is that the toxins do not exist as visible open-air waste dumps. They dissolve and become invisible within the natural living environment itself. Local residents built homes, farmed, and consumed water from the very ecosystem that had been suffocated. Idaho's glorious mining past is not just a historical story. It is a toxic physical entity, forcing current generations to keep dealing with the consequences through environmental cleanup projects that last for decades. Fact 16. The Lonely Mountain of Idaho. There is a mountain in Idaho that rises so alone you can see it from 50 miles away. This geological structure is called Big Southern Butte. It pierces through the flat surface of the Snake River Plain and rises 2,500 feet high. Usually, mountains exist as part of ranges or connected clusters. This volcanic mass completely breaks that rule. It stands entirely isolated, with no nearby hills or ridgelines sharing the surrounding space. The vast surface of the plain is interrupted by one single giant mass of rock. This topographic abnormality turns Big Southern Butte into an absolute physical landmark. For hundreds of years, from indigenous tribes to pioneering trailblazers, people have used this isolated structure as a giant natural compass in the middle of the desert. Fact 15. The basalt sponge beneath Idaho. Trillions of gallons of water in Idaho are rushing right beneath your feet, moving through a giant sponge-like mass of rock. Beneath the Snake River Plain lies an unusually structured groundwater network. This system does not hold water inside hollow caves like ordinary underground lakes. The crust in this region is made of porous volcanic basalt. Water seeps, filters, and flows continuously through the tiny openings inside this mineral mass. This geological architecture turns the entire subsurface of the state into a giant machine for filtering and storing water. The surprising part is how deeply human survival depends on this basalt formation. Without the Snake River Plain aquifer, the southern plain of Idaho would be nothing but a dead desert. The groundwater constantly moving through cracks in the rock provides the entire foundation for irrigation, directly sustaining the state's massive agricultural industry. Fact 14. Idaho's convict labor roads. You are driving on roads that were graded by the hands of people who had lost their freedom. In the early 20th century, the state of Idaho began expanding its highway system through the mountains. The main construction force for many key projects was not paid workers. They were prisoners from the government's incarceration system. The steep mountain terrain and hard rock made road building a dangerous task. The use of prison labor allowed the state to cut infrastructure construction costs as much as possible. Many sections of modern roads today were shaped on this foundation. This historical truth creates a major contradiction. Roads that represent the freedom of movement were created by people who had been completely stripped of their personal freedom. Fact 13. The river you can't travel upstream. A river system in Idaho has an official name that works like a no-turning-back sign. The Salmon River is recorded on local maps with the nickname the River of No Return. This name accurately reflects the mechanical structure of the waterway. The river is locked between one of the deepest canyon systems on the North American continent. The fast current of the Salmon River moves with enormous kinetic energy in only one direction. Historically, freight boat operators could only travel downstream. They could not use human strength or early engines to push their boats back upstream to the starting point. The steep canyon walls completely eliminated overland routes along the riverbanks. This river takes away your freedom to choose direction. Once you enter the current, you are forced to continue to the end point. Fact 12. 1,000 gallons of milk. Per person, the total amount of milk produced in Idaho is enough to provide nearly 1,000 gallons for every resident in a single year. Idaho's economic structure is hiding a massive dairy production system. National statistics record annual production of 17.022 billion pounds of milk from this state. That equals 1.98 billion gallons in volume. The strange part is the mismatch between production capacity and local consumption. When divided evenly across Idaho's total population, the allocation reaches 975 gallons per person per year. This volume forces the state to expand deep processing facilities. They transform this liquid stream into cheese and powdered milk for distribution beyond state borders. This production confirms Idaho's crucial role in maintaining the national food supply chain. Fact 11. The forest swallowed by lava. In Idaho, there is a forest that was completely burned away but still preserved its physical shape as hollow stone molds. This phenomenon occurred when molten lava flows poured across a dense forest ecosystem. The extreme temperature instantly burned through the inner wood structure of the tree trunks. The surprising part lies in how quickly the surface of the flow cooled. The lava surrounding the tree trunk solidified before the trees disappeared completely. This process created hollow stone cavities with the exact shape of each original tree base. Geologists call them tree molds. The original forest evaporated thousands of years ago. However, the Earth's crust automatically recast its entire spatial structure. This stone forest is physical evidence of how volcanic eruptions can both destroy and freeze the shape of an ecosystem. Fact 10. The ghost predator of Idaho. The deep forests of Idaho are hiding a rare predator listed as threatened at the federal level. The wolverine is a native animal fully adapted to snowy mountain environments and cold, rocky terrain. The Idaho Department of Fish and Game classifies it as a species that cannot be hunted under any circumstances. The surprising part is its near-total invisibility in the wild. Very few biologists or forest rangers ever get to see one directly. Its thick fur and ability to move across snow help it avoid human observation. The decline of the population makes every surviving individual an extremely important ecological asset. The invisible presence of the wolverine proves how harsh the high mountain ecosystem really is. Even with extremely fragile numbers, this predatory mammal continues to hold on in Idaho's most isolated terrain. Fact 9. 1/3 of the nation's potatoes. Nearly 1/3 of the potatoes consumed across the United States are grown directly on the surface of an ancient lava field. NASA data identifies the state of Idaho as the largest potato-producing center in the country. The core area behind this output is the Snake River Plain. The biggest paradox lies in the geological foundation of this farmland. This plain was originally shaped by violent volcanic eruptions in the past. Lava wiped out every living thing. Over millions of years, the basalt surface weathered into a layer of soil packed with a massive amount of minerals. The loose texture of volcanic soil combined with groundwater creates an ideal environment for potato roots to develop. The destructive tectonic activity of the Earth's crust accidentally established one of America's most important food-producing machines. Fact 8. A geological tunnel, open to the public. In Idaho, you can step by yourself into the dark interior of an extinct volcanic system without needing a guide. Near the Shoshone area, a cave called Mammoth Cave is open for the public to explore freely. In reality, this is a giant lava tube left behind after an ancient eruption. The surprise lies in how this place operates. Instead of guided tours with staff accompanying visitors, the management provides handheld lanterns for guests to carry themselves. Visitors are allowed to walk underground on their own and set their own route of exploration. This physical experience removes the usual protective layers of a tourist site. It forces people to face the absolute silence inside the Earth's crust by themselves. The freedom to touch the basalt walls turns this underground structure into a deeply personal space for geological observation. Fact 7. America's first dark sky reserve. A large area in the state of Idaho is strictly protected by the government not because of plants, but to protect darkness. The Central Idaho Dark Sky Reserve was officially recognized in 2017. Surprisingly, it was the first international-level dark sky reserve in the entire United States. The sole goal of the project is to prevent the invasion of artificial light. Every lighting system in the area must follow strict regulations on brightness. This limitation is meant to preserve a primitive optical environment. Here, the night sky is recognized as a physical asset that can be destroyed. By locking down the amount of light emitted from the ground, the authorities preserve a window into space. It allows people to observe galaxies directly without visual pollution from modern cities. Fact 6. The satellite view of Idaho's smile. The surface of southern Idaho is split by a massive geological scar shaped exactly like a smile. This depression is the Snake River Plain, which can be clearly observed from the space station. This curve was not shaped by water but carved entirely by lava. It is the direct result of the Yellowstone hotspot. The surprising part is the time it took for this smile to form. It took millions of years to complete, as the North American tectonic plate slid across a superheated magma chamber. This heat chamber melted the planet's crust, creating a series of giant subsidence basins that stretched into an arc. The volume of lava that poured out flattened the valley surface. The smile on Idaho's map does not carry a friendly meaning. It is an exact physical record of the carving power of volcanism, exposing the hidden operating structure of our planet. Fact 5. The Seaport in a landlocked state. The state of Idaho does not have any coastline, yet it operates an international seaport. The city of Lewiston lies deep inland, hundreds of miles from the Pacific Ocean. Although geographically isolated, it is officially classified as a seaport. This absurdity is solved by a massive hydroelectric dam system. The network of dams on the Snake River and Columbia River has raised the water level. They created a slackwater system stretching from the coast all the way into the heart of Idaho. Huge cargo barges can travel upstream directly from the ocean into the interior. This engineering solution completely transformed the state's logistics map. It gives Idaho's agricultural and industrial producers a direct waterway gateway to global markets without ever touching the sea. Fact 4. The waterfall taller than Niagara. The state of Idaho has a waterfall taller than Niagara, yet it can almost completely disappear. That is Shoshone Falls, a semicircular cliff about 900 feet wide. Its measured height reaches 212 feet, surpassing the structure of Niagara Falls. However, its grandeur is not constant. The amount of water pouring into this canyon is controlled entirely by human hands and weather cycles. In spring, melting snow and ice provide a massive water flow, creating a roaring wall of water. The surprising part appears during the dry summer. The dam system on the Snake River redirects most of the flow to serve agricultural irrigation. This drains the water source, leaving behind a dry basalt wall. This natural formation reflects the compromise between landscape and the agricultural economy of the state. Fact 3. Training for the moon in Idaho. The surface of Idaho was once used by the United States Space Agency as a laboratory to simulate the moon. Before carrying out the Apollo 11 mission, astronauts needed to learn how to identify geological structures beyond Earth. Idaho's Craters of the Moon was selected as a physical training site. This place is a massive basalt lava field created by volcanic eruptions. The porous rock formations, empty magma tubes, and collapsed craters here share a strong similarity with the terrain of the moon's crust. Astronauts wore equipment and directly practiced observing and classifying geological debris on this dark surface. Without leaving Earth, they were able to learn how to read volcanic rock patterns. This reserve served as a real-world rehearsal ground for humanity's first steps beyond the planet. Fact 2. The deepest gorge in North America. The deepest canyon on the entire North American continent is not in the state of Arizona. This geological record belongs to Hell's Canyon in Idaho. This fault structure cuts through the mountain system with a maximum depth of more than 7,900 feet. Measurements from the Idaho Geological Survey confirm that it is about 2,000 feet deeper than the Grand Canyon. The surprising part is the lack of media attention. Hell's Canyon does not attract millions of visitors every year. It maintains an almost absolute state of physical isolation because of its steep cliff terrain. The fast-flowing Snake River at the bottom of the canyon continues to erode the foundation of the planet's crust. This giant cut acts as a natural barrier, blocking every attempt to expand transportation infrastructure. It forces humans to go around it instead of crossing straight through the state. Fact 1. The Texas-sized surface of Idaho. If you used mechanical force to flatten the entire state of Idaho, its true surface area would be equal to Texas. Current 2D surface measurements do not accurately reflect the real scale of this state. Idaho's surface is not a smooth, continuous plain. It has been bent into a network of steep mountain ridges and deep canyons. Tectonic folds have compressed an enormous amount of land into a narrow boundary space. The roughness of the planet's crust here far exceeds that of flatland states. Millions of square miles of land are stacked on top of one another along the vertical axis. This compression of space creates a series of microclimate zones and isolated ecosystems inside the valleys. Idaho's true physical area is completely hidden in the form of rugged topographic folds. Idaho is not just an agricultural center. The surface of this state is a collection of geological abnormalities. From the deepest canyon in North America to a river that only moves one way to a network of hot water circulating beneath the city, Idaho is actually a physical space compressed by tectonic folds and the remains of ancient volcanic activity. Which fact on this list seems the most absurd to you? If you know any other information about this land, add it in the comments section. Subscribe to the channel to continue decoding the geographic structure of other states in the next video.